So, well, cystic fibrosis is an inherited life-threatening disease. Inherited, both mother and father carry an abnormal gene, and it's actually commoner than you think. And if their child inherits both genes, then the child will have cystic fibrosis. They have it from birth. They develop predominantly lung and intestinal problems, although it's a multi-organ disease, it affects all organs. And they get recurrent respiratory tract infections or lung infections, and eventually die from lung failure.
Okay, perhaps I can just give a little bit of history to the association. The Cystic Fibrosis Association has been around for about 30 years. And it came into existence shortly after cystic fibrosis first became diagnosed and treated in South Africa. And really the main objectives of the association are, there's three of them. The first one is to provide emotional support to families. Understandably, when a child gets diagnosed, it's a very traumatic event and they need some support, and we try to provide that support. Secondly, we want to try and promote early diagnosis, which improves the treatment and the prognosis, and that we do by trying to increase public awareness as much as possible. The third, and this is probably more relevant to what we're going to be looking at today, the third is really to ensure proper treatment for all those affected by cystic fibrosis, whether they be children or whether they be adults. And what we're going to be really looking at is more the adult side here, because that's what has been neglected, simply because at one stage there weren't very many coming through to adulthood, but now there are.
The most important thing about a multidisciplinary unit, and that's what we've got here, the multidisciplinary aspect, is that that's the most important reason why life expectancy has increased. So they see a physiotherapist, a dietitian, doctors, nurses, lung function technicians, microbiologists specialise in the organisms that they grow in their lungs, psychologists, the whole team understands CF.
I was diagnosed at 18 or 18 and a half. Went throughout life with lots of bronchitises and ill treatments and malnourished, and no one ever picked it up. My GP was obviously informed of cystic fibrosis. My sister then was a med student at the time, and they had a lecture on cystic fibrosis, and she came home and said to me, "You need to be tested." Other treatment chairs, you can't find it anywhere else. Kathy and the doctors in the clinic are phenomenal. I've never had a situation where I haven't been able to phone one of them and get help from them. I remember an incident where I was horribly ill on Christmas Eve, and I messaged Kathy, and she actually came out to the clinic to meet me on Christmas Day. You don't get that elsewhere.
I think this has been the most difficult time for us in terms of raising funds, and it's coincided with a situation where we've been improving the service at the Adult Cystic Fibrosis Clinic, which means that we've had to increase the number of hours the doctors work, increase costs. And it just got to the point June this year where we had a cash flow problem. We couldn't actually afford to pay the doctors in July. There is a genuine risk at this point that the clinic will have to close. And you know, as I mentioned, we've got the two doctors, Dr. Baird and Dr. Ghost. They are amazing doctors. They are so dedicated to the treatment of cystic fibrosis. If we had to close the clinic, the patients who come here would be totally devastated.